Oh. Ah.
Total bullshit. Total bullshit. Every movie has this scene where I've got a knife and he's got a knife. Tons of martial arts spend time sparring here and having sparring techniques from out here. And it's fun, I'll grant you that. Particularly if you're not using real sharp knives. So I'll put these down for a second. So just to be a bit safer, we're switching to not sharp knives. What we just did, that prototypical scene where there's two guys dancing around that's in every movie that lots of schools spend time training here, like, okay, I'm gonna cut here and I'm gonna stab him and he's gonna try and cut me. I'm gonna go high, go low. It's fun, but it's totally unrealistic, especially in a North American context. Now at the end of this video, I will show you a cool trick that I use all the time for that fun knife fighting. So if you want to get better at that dueling knife fight thing, I'll show you something. And I've heard in knife carrying cultures, like in the Philippines, like in Indonesia, I have heard people give me accounts of, villages where there were fairly frequent machete fights, because people would be having their machetes and they'd be drinking and they would mutually draw their machetes and go at it. So I'm not saying it never happens. But first you have to say that of all the attacks in North America and Europe with a knife, 99.5% of them are one person on his phone. Yeah, okay, your knife turned into a magic phone. And the other person coming up and sewing machining them here. Or, in a prison where one guy's managed to get a shank or a sharpened toothbrush or something. And repeatedly hitting the guy, usually with a point, usually in a repeated motion, and usually in the same place. This whole, oh, Richie, I've been looking for you.
I've been looking for you!
And now let's have a West Side Story knife fight. Doesn't exist. The problem is a lot of the knife fighting experts, especially in the West, learned some of their stuff from fencing, which is a consensual duel with their épées, with their rapiers, with their sabers. And maybe in 16th century Florence, this was a real thing. Like, oh, Luigi, I've been looking for you, and here's my rapier, and now let us have a duel. That might have been a cultural thing, and maybe in 18th century England, the possibility of having a duel with a gentleman who's insulted, besmirched your honor is a reality. Modern day, almost always an ambush, almost always one knife against no knife. Now, here's a trick I was going to say. First of all, if you are doing this consensual knife dueling thing, wear eye protection. I'm not kidding here. This is really important. I know several people who've had their eyes damaged with finger jabs, with weapons, and it's permanent damage. It's permanent damage to the eye. For sure, you want to wear eye protection. 100%. But here's a trick that I've used. This works with a stick as well. Also works with boxing a little bit. We're here. We're going to ignore footwork for a moment. I can just barely touch him. He can just barely touch me. I'm going to be doing my attacks, but notice how I'm doing them short. I'm never fully extending. We're moving around. I just said there was no footwork. Moving around, I'm attacking, but he's getting used to this false range of about here. Inevitably, he moves a bit closer. Meaning that when I finally go to full range, it's an easy hit. I remember sparring a guy, knife sparring, the thing that I said was totally unrealistic, and we were going around, and I go, Edwin, I got you. And he's like, what do you mean? And I bonk. It's like, how did you do that? Well, it's because I've been setting him up for a couple of minutes of this very long West Side Story knife fight, moving around, trying to get him, but purposely shooting short. Damn it, I just can't get him. Now I can. So if you wanted to do that false range thing, it's a very fun way to be successful in the unrealistic sport of knife dueling. Probably works in fencing as well. I know it works in stick fighting, probably works in boxing, using the, a jab that just doesn't go. And then finally I extend to sucker him in. Works especially well if you're slightly more simian-esque than your training partner. If you have these long arms, just have little T-Rex arms. Yeah, so he's got little short arms. So I'm going to mirror him. Look at me, I'm a little T-Rex too. Bang. So there, your handy tip for your next knife duel in the street, but don't fool yourself. Most knife attacks look something like that. Like make an aggressive face.
Okay.
And we just...
Richie, that's not aggressive enough.